What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Too Much Test Podcast, episode 43. As always, I'm TYL. I'm here with Sam. Check out our stuff, our Instagram. It's on the screen here if you're just listening, at sam.stolt, at Test Your Levels. Also, our sponsors are hcgains.com and thetriggeredbrand.com. What's going on, Sam?
Hey, how you doing, bro? It's good to see you. We haven't been here in a while. We have some awesome stuff to cover today, guys. But before we get into that, we have this.
Just listening, that is some dubstep. We created a logo video. It's a work in progress, but I hope you enjoyed the dubstep.
That might be better. That might be better in a YouTube video than a podcast, potentially.
Some things don't work in audio. Some things don't work on video. We're amateurs here. We're just trying to figure this out. So.
we're learning here. So if you guys enjoy us getting better and learning through this, leave us a review. Let us know. We want to get better. If you have other topics too, let us know.
Actually, look, we have 6 5-star reviews on Apple.
Ooh, yeah.
I never even noticed that. I moved the whole podcast over to the new Anchor platform. It's a platform owned by Spotify, and we can actually upload videos. So I think you'll be able to see the videos on Spotify and on Anchor. So that'll be pretty cool. We also have a YouTube channel, but if you could check it out all in one spot, that'd be pretty tight.
What is the YouTube channel for people who are not familiar with it?
I believe it's Too Much Test Podcast, but I haven't uploaded it to it for a while, which I'm going to do tonight. So, but yeah, I was going to, you live in Florida as well. And we just had 2 hurricanes come through. I still have freaking debris in my front yard from the first one. The county that I live in, they sent out this big newsletter and they're like, don't bundle up your stuff. Don't bag up the leaves. Just put that shit on the street. And we're going to come with one of those, those crane arm things and a dump truck. And we're going to pick it all up. And I was like, hell yeah. I was like, I'm going and cutting all kinds of trees around in my yard. So,
you do all your cleaning, like, hey, these bushes need to be cut out, like everything.
Oh, bro, I got the long pole saw out. I was cutting all kinds of shit down. And I was like, hell yeah, just throw the shit in the front of the yard. It's been like a month? It's all still there. So when the next hurricane's coming and it's dropping all this rain, I'm over there trying to create a path in the sewer so the water can get to the actual sewer thing so it doesn't flood in front of my freaking house. But now the county's not going to be there for another 2 weeks to pick this stuff up. So that's why I was out bundling before I started the podcast.
All your grass is probably dead underneath that pile too.
No, it's actually in the road. So I made sure it wasn't on the grass. I put that shit in the road. Yeah, my neighbors can drive around that.
Do you live in a little cul-de-sac area where there's probably not a lot of traffic?
No. There's not a huge amount of traffic. It's not a massive neighborhood or anything, but the whole neighborhood's like that because everyone put their shit out. So the whole street is just covered in debris. I mean, it's not people have it neat and stuff, but you're just driving and weaving around, big logs and tree. Yeah, it's crazy. Welcome to Florida.
When we had that, you remember the hurricane from 4 or 5 years ago? I don't remember what it's called, Katrina maybe or something. No, I don't know.
Katrina was Louisiana.
But there's one we had here in 2017.
Yeah, it's Charlie, Irma.
Yeah.
A couple of them that were bad.
And during that time, I owned a landscape company. And so the power went out here for a week. So that was imagine owning a landscaping company where you're working in the sun in Florida in August, because that storm came in August. So it's 92 degrees out and 173% humidity outside. 20 minutes into work and you're already sweating. And then you get home and there's no AC because the power's out. It was very bad. But what we ended up doing is every day I'd come home and I'd have a trailer full of debris. So I just kept piling, because they said the same thing in my neighborhood. Hey, just pile it up by the road. We'll come by and do it. But it took them a month and a half. And by the time they came and got it, I had this gargantuan pile of limbs and bush trimmings and everything.
What pissed me off is because I can see the neighborhood behind me. And I saw those fuckers drove through with 4 dump trucks and they had the big crane arm and it's the neighborhood behind us, but I can see it. So I figured, I was like, all right, well, they're coming to our neighborhood tomorrow. That was 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. The county doesn't care about us.
Did you tell everybody to check out our sponsors, htgains.com and the Triggered brand? They have some cool stuff. You should check out both of those if you haven't checked them out. But let's transition to some gear or PED type talk. You had sent me a picture earlier this week. You want to tell us a little bit about the story and the context of that? What's going on there?
Yeah, so this happened to me on Sunday. So Sunday, I opened up a fresh bottle of pharmaceutical Sustanon, and actually, no, I'm sorry. It was two weeks ago. So first time I injected with this Sustanon, it was sub-Q, and I had no real issue. It was a little red, just tiny, but that can happen. That happens with sub-Q or kind of randomly. Next one was like, it was a nodule, and it was red. Like, it was red, about this, probably size of a baseball, on the side of my stomach. And I was like, my wife she said, like, looks like you have colitis. And I don't even know what the hell colitis is, but
I don't know either. What is colitis?
I don't know. Apparently it looked like colitis. I think it's just like a raised lump under the skin or something. And so I'm sitting there and I'm questioning to myself. I'm like, I'm pretty damn sterile when I do injections. Like, I'm not one of those people that like half-ass, like, oh, I dropped my bottle. I focus on what I'm doing. And so I was questioning myself, did I touch the top of the bottle? Did I do something? I was like, no, I'm good. So it's not an infection. So I put some ice on it for like, the next day, and it went away like normal. After a day or so, it wasn't too bad. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I was like, this stuff's maybe a little harsh. Maybe it's got a little extra alcohol in it, whatever. So I just did sub-Q, and that was on Sunday. I did IM, I'm sorry. So I did my shoulder here, did my shot. Probably about an hour and a half later, maybe, I'm sitting on my couch. I'm staring at my phone like a loser. And my wife looks over at me and she's like, "The fuck is wrong with you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are we fighting?" And she's like, no, your face is all red and blotchy. And I'm like, my face doesn't look blotchy. And then I noticed I was feeling a little warmer. And she's like, "Go look at your chest." She's like, "Your chest is all fucking blotchy. You broke out and shit." And I went, and sure enough, and I looked, and as soon as I looked at myself, I was red. And I was like, that's an allergic reaction. I had that before with caffeine. And so my wife gave me 50 milligrams of Benadryl, went away like that, no problem. But now I'm not worried that I'm going to get like anaphylactic shock or anything, but it's making me a little trigger shy with the old Sustanon.
Yeah, how much did you end up doing with that?
It was 125 milligrams for each injection.
Damn. And then
my wife was telling me that certain allergies can build. So like the first shot wasn't that bad. Second one got a little worse. And the third one, I had an allergic reaction. So I was like, oh, Jesus, of course.
There was I was not using pharmaceutical grade at the time, but there was this time where I would have an allergic reaction to different types of testosterone, whether it was the alcohol or the way it's suspended or whether it was dirty. I have no idea, but because it kept happening with different brands, I think it was the actual way it was suspended. So we're about to go on vacation to Panama. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to be gone for about a week. So let me do my injection. I just started this new one. The first shot I did was like, I had a lump and I did it in my glutes, right? I had a lump and it was like painful. And I was like, oh, maybe I fucked that shit up. Or like, because sometime the other day, I'm not paying attention. I hit my needle, pull the needle out, and it's like at a 60 or 90. It's not a 90 degree angle, but it's all like cockeyed because I bent it in my ass. So I was like, oh, maybe I did that, and that's why it was like so irritating on my butt, like to the point where I would roll over in bed and I couldn't like lay on that one side because it was like hurt a lot, right? So I was like, let me try triceps because those always I've had different. I've had glutes. Glutes are like we're like something that I've had issues with sometimes. So I was like, let me try a tricep. I've never had an issue with triceps. So I rest my arm on the table and I do we're going on vacation, right? So I was like, let me do a slightly bigger than normal shot of the shitty testosterone. So we're leaving first thing in the morning. So I was like, okay, cool. that's super late at night. Let me just set this on the counter and I'll do this first thing in the morning. So that way I'll have slightly more. Then I won't do a shot all week because I'm not going to bring anything with me on vacation. So I take it and first thing in the morning, I shower, pull my arm out because I like to rest my arm when I do testosterone and my tricep. Pull my arm out, do a shot in there, and then we go from like Florida to Houston, and we're sitting in the Houston airport, and sitting next to my girlfriend. She's like, "You're really warm," and like, because you're sitting in those tiny little chairs in the airport, and my arm is resting on the side, and she's like kind of leaning on my arm, and I look, and my tricep is like burning, but it's also like swollen to the point where I had like a cankle on my elbow because it was so incredibly swollen. But by the time we landed in Panama, which to go from here to Houston, a couple hours there, then from Houston to Panama, it's not a terribly long day, 6-7 hours, right? All combined through the process. I get to the Airbnb and I can't even take my shirt off. My tricep hurt so bad to try to bring it over my head. I had to like bend forwards, try to lift up my arms a little bit and have her pull the shirts off because I couldn't extend my arm so bad. The entire trip I was in Panama. Towards the last like couple of days, it got better, but that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like,
I bet, man. Yeah, I did when I was doing I did different shot injection sites for different videos, and I did my traps. And I remember I was doing my traps, and like, I mean, I felt, how sometimes you can just feel the oil, you know what I'm saying? You can feel it. It's an interesting feeling. And it wasn't as bad as you thought. It was normal, like pharma sip. But I mean, I felt it the next day, but it wasn't that bad. But I was really nervous that it was going to feel like really bad because it's a smaller muscle. That's why I don't think I've ever done triceps. That's just some of those smaller muscles are kind of freak you out.
So did you have any issues with when you did your traps the next day?
No, I mean, I could feel it, but it wasn't to the point where it's like, it feels like it's super sore. Like my shoulder still feels sore from Sunday. Like I can still feel it. Not bad, but I mean, it's getting better every day. But Daryl, think about this. So imagine what you went through with your tricep, right? Now imagine you're competing in like the Mr. Olympia in like 5 weeks and you've got to run, Winstrol suspension and you just got to kind of rotate muscles and I was watching some video on Instagram where the guy was saying is like these guys that are stepping on stage at Mr. Olympia, they're taking no less than 2 grams a week. Like that's the minimum. They're like 2 to 3 grams a week is what they're on. And I'm like, it's crazy, man. Trust me, I was just thinking about this. I love my TRT brothers, but sometimes when I go on the testosterone subreddit and I see some of these guys and then I'll scroll by another post of the steroid Reddit, and I'm just like, man, these TRT guys need to toughen the fuck up. I see like on the steroid Reddit, it's like 750 test, 400 prop, 400 masteron, 3 IUs, this and that. And they're like, I'm having a little bit of trouble sleeping at night. And then the TRT guys are like, second injection, 50 milligrams a week. I'm having extreme anxiety. I'm bloated, this and that. And I'm like, listen, I understand. I know you're feeling like that, but just look at this guy and look at what you're taking, and he's just having, I mean, I'm not making fun of medical shit. I'm not making fun of how people feel, but sometimes I just feel like it's like 2 different sets of guys.
Yeah, no, that's kind of like a image of a lot of society today, right? Well, there's a lot of freaking pussies out there.
I'm not calling the TRT guys pussies. No, I'm just saying, I think the steroid guys, I mean, obviously they're more advanced. If you're getting into the multiple compounds, you've been using gear for a little while, but I think I think you did hit something that it is a reflection of some of society, like I don't think that guys in the 60s with low testosterone, if you juiced them up with 200 milligrams, I think they would probably just be like, listen, I feel better. I'm still not 100%, but I'm feeling better. I don't know.
So one of my buddies, he's been talking about, like, he hasn't even really been talking about any issues that he's been having necessarily, but when you're on TRT, you have like more of a will or to take action on the things in life that you just need to get done, right?
Yeah.
Like you like versus not being on TRT, you might just sit there on your phone. You might be like, oh, well, I'm going to take a nap or something, right? But when you're on TRT and you want to be a real man, then you get shit done, right? Like you go get shit done. And I felt like he was having issues with that. And so I've been trying to tell him for months and months to get his testosterone levels checked. So he's not into this realm like we are. And so he sent me his results. I'm going to try to pull him up real quick, but he was like at 460 total testosterone and 60 free testosterone. So the range for anybody who's listening who's not aware, for total testosterone, it's like 250 to like 1100, depending on the source. And from free testosterone, I think it's around 30 to maybe 160-ish, at least the reference range that he sent over. And so he's at 60 on one and like 450, 460 on the other one. And I was like, yeah, bro, you have low testosterone. And he was just, but this blows people's minds because they're not even aware of this. And the dude's like healthy. He's eating like high protein diet. He's exercising. He's very active. Like his sleep could use improvement, but like there's the perception that he's doing a lot of these things very good, very like healthily. He's drinking a lot of water, and yet he has very low testosterone. That's not normal for a 34-year-old dude.
Yeah.
Like to have 460 testosterone. I was like, bro, yeah, that's not normal at all. Like at a bare minimum, in my personal opinion, should probably be over 700. Bare minimum, be over 700. And there's so many people like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want my dad to get tested because I think he's probably on low testosterone. Even though he's 74 years old or whatever, however old he is, like, you should still go get tested.
Oh yeah, dude. I had my dad got tested. I made him get tested. I've had two people that I've had get tested. Actually, three. And no. Two of them were over 600. So my dad was over 600, and I have a buddy that's a little bit younger than me that was at over 600. He's telling me, he's like, dude, if I hit 500, I'm getting on TRT. He's like, I'm good for right now, but if I hit 500, I'm getting on TRT. My dad has no interest in it. And then I had another buddy, and he's a big dude. You know, he's got some weight on him, and he tested at like 400 or 500, I think, but he didn't want to take the next step to it. But you know, what's scary is that the doctor, I don't think there's really any doctors, like general primary doctors, that will actually tell a guy like, hey, we're going to check your testosterone. It always defaults to anxiety and depression. That's literally, I mean, I see people message me all the time on the different social media platforms, like TikTok, wink, wink, test your levels. But no, I actually made a TikTok, and I said, I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast. I think it was Huberman that said, testosterone makes doing shit and getting shit done feel good. And I never really thought of it like that, but I 100% agree now that they said that.
What do you think about that? Because like, so for myself, I classify it as like, I get anxiety if I sit around my house for any period of time, even if it's like I'm scrolling on Instagram for 7 minutes, right? Like I get anxiety, like, why aren't you getting shit done? I don't know if you feel the same way, but when you maybe don't have high testosterone, you like justify it, or you just think it's normal, or you think life is okay. And people, maybe testosterone also opens up people's minds to the sense that like, you're capable of so much more, right? Like you're capable of so much more. And by taking testosterone, when you're sitting around, fucking around, not doing diddly squat, fucking jerking off, whatever you're doing, you realize that like, damn, I'm wasting my life. The only chance that I get, and I should maybe take some more responsibility to take action. And it feels like it's 100 times easier if you're actually optimizing your hormones and optimizing your testosterone versus like when I used to research with SARMs without a testosterone base. And after a number of years, I had very low testosterone. I look like an emaciated, like white person, not like, because when I look like not a good, healthy at all. I'll try to post a picture or something on my Instagram. You guys can check it out. But I did not look good at all. It's probably within 3 months to 6 months of being in testosterone. I look
Sam's like mainlining YK11 in his veins, strung out, looking emaciated, like an emaciated white person. That's what we should do, the Emaciated White Person podcast. I don't know. Is that racist because we're white? I mean, is that like, I don't know.
Because I'm saying it about myself.
These days.
Like I'm saying it about myself, not about like anybody else. Like
you want to hear a crazy story, and this isn't about SARMs or testosterone. My wife was telling me that there is a girl on Instagram, and her Instagram name is like, it's Grace Tran, right? Her name is Grace Tran, and she's an Asian. I think she's Vietnamese. I don't know where she is. I've never seen her page. Someone messaged her or commented and said, like, why do you have that in your name? That could offend people. Because the Tran part, not trans person. Her name was Grace Tran. It says it's Grace Tran. And this girl messaged her and it's like, why do you have that in your handle? Like, that's offensive. And she said, it's my name. And she's like, well, you don't have to use it in your handle because it could offend people. Like, that's the type of people that we're dealing with, like, as not the majority of the world, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck, bro?
Dude, so this reminded me. Did you see that article that came out? It was like Elizabeth Warren and I think another Democrat in Massachusetts who they wrote a letter to three. I looked at the actual letter, and maybe I can pull it up next time you're talking. I'll try to pull it up. 3 different 3-letter agencies, right? And they were actually urging the declassification of testosterone as a drug on the classified list, right? Because if you're not aware, people, testosterone is classified as like a
Schedule 3. It's in the same category as ketamine,
right? Okay, so basically,
Xanax.
Testosterone you can think of as ketamine or Xanax, kind of thing, right? Well, they want to make it so that it's not declassified, and you know why? Probably guess, because not for the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of men globally that are struggling with low testosterone and think that's just a way of life. And when they talk to their doctor tells them to take these anxiety pills, take these depression pills. It's just you're getting older, bro. Right? And it has nothing to do with those millions of people. It has to do with LGBTQ people, right? The dudes who fucking want to be women and the women who want to be fucking dudes. Like, and that is backwards as it is to make something legal to help a tiny subset of the population that's like, it would probably be better to like make like mental health things like a priority for those people, in my personal opinion. But like to potentially declassify something, like you were saying around what you were just talking about, that they're like the wussification or the pussification of Americans, but globally or just like the Western world is ridiculous. It's not, I don't know, it's not going down a good route, and we need more of this type of dialogue and I'm not trying to say that like you should talk the way I do or you should have any of the beliefs that I do, but you should have like the capacity to think for yourself. Because a lot of times, how many times do you hear people say that they like think about something in a certain way, but it's literally regurgitation from an article they read or something else because they don't actually know how to think for themselves. Like they don't actually know how to think for themselves as a human being. Everything is regurgitation from somebody else in an article. They don't know how to take different pieces and synthesize them together to come up with a better outcome. There's literally millions of people who just don't know how to do that.
It's pretty wild. And just an update, I just got an email from George Soros, and Sam is, why can't I was going to cancel Sam. I was going to put just on me. I don't know how to do that. That was going to be, I was going to have it to where I was, but anyway, Sam is canceled. Now I'm on the left. But you know, okay. So just don't look at this part of the screen. Sam's canceled. But dude, I watched a video on TikTok, and I'm embarrassed that I just spoke those words. But it's 10 times better platform than Instagram. Fucking Instagram's trash. But follow right there. Test your levels. Instagram. It's not trash. But so this guy, and I've only known of Andrew Tate for like a month. I had no idea who he was. I'd never heard of his name before, but I do know who he is now. And this guy went to some college campus and asked like 50 girls, what do you know about Andrew Tate? What do you think about him? And they had a little counter at the top of the screen after the first girl said it. And she said, "Oh, I don't like him. He's a misogynist." And so they had a counter that said misogynist, and it got up to like 25. And so he just asked them basically like, "Well, what did he say that was misogynistic?" I don't know. I mean, not one girl could say they got something that she said. And it just goes to show, even my wife said, "Isn't that Andrew Tate guy a dick?" And I was like, "You don't even know who he is." And I was like, "He's a cocky, arrogant dude. And he doesn't care what he says, but I've never heard him say anything like bad about women or bad about anyone else." But that just shows you how, my wife probably saw 2 or 3 TikToks where they said Andrew Tate's an asshole. So she thinks Andrew Tate's an asshole, even though she's never seen him.
Yes.
That's that regurgitation.
So let's dive into that. Like, how do you go through and correct that? Like, how do you actually go through and fix that? Like, what do you need to do on a society level? But like, yes, on a society level, but more because we're speaking to individuals. What does an individual need to do? Because like they need to, in my opinion, they need to go through and start questioning all of the beliefs and things that they think are real. Because all of the stuff like that we think is real is literally a story that we chose to make up or we chose to believe from somebody else, and question reality for what it actually is. And you can go out and get the actual information so that you can make a decision for yourself. Because if we continue down that path, like that's just not a good solution for things.
No bueno. You want something else I thought about, and I'm not giving away all my videos that I'm going to do for my YouTube channel. Dude, I'm wondering, like, because lots of guys are in that testosterone subreddit. I think when I first started on YouTube, there were like 15,000 people in there. It's grown to like 106,000 people. And there's some really smart guys in there. But I'm wondering to myself, so let's say you took a guy who didn't have a cell phone, had low testosterone, and you got him on a good protocol of testosterone. Let's just say like 75 milligrams twice a week, something kind of standard. And you told them there's no side effects. You'll just feel better. We'll get your testosterone levels better and we'll be good to go. We're going to monitor you. You're going to be good. And then you took that same guy and you did the exact same protocol, but you gave him access to Reddit and Facebook groups where he sees every other post is, did my second shot, had crazy anxiety. Has anyone gotten crazy depression on TRT? I feel like I have high estrogen sides, this and that. Like if you took those same 2 guys, I feel like the first guy would say, yeah, I feel better. Like I do feel a lot better. I've got better motivation. I feel like I have energy, a little bit better libido. And then I think on the other one, he may say, wow, it's not perfect. I don't feel, I'm still a little tired sometimes. And I think social media, is bad in general. I don't think humans are meant to talk to thousands of people in a day. Like we're supposed to be in kind of like a close community, like, I don't know, 50, 100 people, maybe like that. I think every like civilization that's gotten massively big has eventually crumbled for some reason.
That's
Mayans, the Incans, the Romans, they've always got good to a point and then they get too big and shit goes south for some reason.
That's interesting and brings up the story. So, because and this is not related to hormones or anything, but the mental aspect of like society today. I have this is I don't even know, they're probably gonna be mad if they ever find this out, but like I have a sibling, right? So they are they're not doing super well, like mentally, and I haven't talked to them in 2 years because last time I talked to them, they were just calling me names and saying that I'm an asshole and this, that, and the other thing, right? So that's perfectly fine. Like I still love you and care about you. So about maybe a year after that, I'd send something just saying, "Hey, love you. Hope you're doing amazing." Heart emoji. Then comes back and just calling me names, giving me a hard time, right? So the other day, I get a text message, and it's like, "Hey, I love you." And I was like, "Okay, this is interesting. Cool. Maybe the person's like changed a little bit, right?" And they go on to say, like, there's 8 different screenshots. I sent to my mom because I'm concerned about her. But 8 different screenshots of full messages that make no sense whatsoever. And then I was like, "Hey," called afterwards to just let people in my family know who actually have a relationship with them, just so that they can hopefully handle it. But I called and just to say, "Hey, is everything okay?" Literally thought I was somebody else. So when you talk about social media, when you talk about the Facebook, and you talk about Reddit, and you talk about people like infecting their mind with the garbage coming out of other people's minds, it's a very dangerous thing. A very dangerous thing, because most people don't know how to close the gates of their mind on like what they choose to allow in, and what, like, I can see garbage content and other type of stuff, and I can choose to not actually allow that in any way. Like, I don't believe anything that just said, right? Or that's not exactly true. That's not true, or whatever the thing is, and choose to not like do that. Also, like closing the gate in terms of like just not paying attention to it. And that brought up that around my sibling, because I'm like, I think that definitely played a part in this, where you have the ability today to make a living while sitting at home. I mean, we both do this, right? And you could hypothetically not really interact with any human beings, period. And be in this rabbit hole. So you're like, okay, cool. What's wrong with that? There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, other than humans are intrinsically like need to have human connection, right? But what do you think happens to some people who don't have that same ability to close off their mind or stop paying attention to that garbage when there's no mirror in front of you? Like, you go to the bathroom and you know what I mean, you fucking took a shit and now you're in front of the mirror and you're like, "Okay, let me do my hair." You not me, because I don't have any, right? But like, you check yourself out in the mirror to make sure you're not looking like a fucking bozo, right? Or like whatever the case is. And you have like all sorts of shit in your teeth, or maybe you missed a spot when you're shaving, or whatever the case is. Well, if there's no mirror, and that mirror is a metaphor for other people in your life telling you you're fucking bananas, like, people can go down a really, really crazy banana like whack job of understanding of reality, and they don't know it.
Oh yeah. They think you have no one to check you, and especially for a lot of the stuff, you're in an echo chamber. So, Reddit. I mean, the reason I like Reddit is one of the reasons I think Reddit's dangerous. I like Reddit because I prefer to follow topics that I either want to learn more about or see stuff about, and I'd much rather actually talk with strangers on the internet. But in that same thing, if you get into, and I'm not making fun of anyone if any of your shit, but if you're like into like furries or like whatever, but it can get dark too. You know what I'm saying? It can get dark, and where people, whatever crazy shit you spout out, as long as it kind of follows what that group is about, then you'll be like, "Oh yeah, good job." This is an interesting thing. I thought I've seen twice on Reddit. And I believe they were both in the Greg Doucette. No, one was in Testosterone, the other was in the Greg Doucette one. The one in Testosterone was a 16-year-old kid, and he wasn't like fucking super shredded or anything, but he was in better shape than the majority of 16-year-olds. But he's got it in his head that he has wide girl hips. He's posted pictures. He just looks like a normal 16-year-old kid who works out, decently at the gym. And I mean, he posted it multiple times where it became almost like a meme in the testosterone group. And everyone told him, "Bro, you're just a normal dude. You're 16 years old. You look better than most 16-year-olds. But he has this body dysmorphia. It's so bad that he feels he has wide girl hips. And then there's a dude in Greg Doucette. I mean, he's probably 15 years old. He's been working out for like under a year. And he's posted a picture of himself flexing. And he's like, "Do I have like a muscle imbalance here? Is this gyno? Do I have this?" And he's just not even that strong. You can't even really tell with muscle definition, but he's in that whole fitness world. And I'm going to be honest, if I was probably 16 years old with Reddit and YouTube and TikTok, I probably would have gone down that road a lot harder than growing up with, the bodybuilding VHSs and DVDs and magazines and stuff like that. I was pretty impressionable as a kid. I would say I was probably 25. I walked into a gay bathhouse and fuck. Anyway, moving forward.
Wrong story.
Moving forward. But no, I mean, if I was into bodybuilding and shit when I was like 16, 17, 18. That's when I bought androstenedione, creatine. I got my mom to buy me the BCAAs, which were the shit. Those were the things that get you swole. But I mean, if I was in social media and I see, I've got, Mike O'Hearn telling me that he's natty, I've got Simeon Panda telling me that he's natty, and I'm following all these guys, and I'm like, man, I just can't get the gains natty like those guys. I'm going to have to step it up, anyway. But you can see how kids who are 16 years old, their brains aren't even fully developed, and they're being lied to by fucking fitness influencers telling them that, Liver King, if I just buy some desiccated beef liver, and I take my creatine, I'll look just like Liver King. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. Hey, so I'm that Liver King, right? Like he looks good. He doesn't look big because we know like what big looks like when you look at bodybuilders, right? And he doesn't look big. His extremities and in his arms and his legs look pretty small, like comparatively speaking. Like, do you think that he's on something, or do you
I mean, he's either the fucking healthiest 40-year-old that I know, and he's found some super secret life hack through eating organs. I mean, I think he's on. I think he's on at minimum TRT. I mean, he's walking around pretty low body fat year round. I mean, I could care less if.
But like, so on the devil's advocate side of things, like I have been on 225 milligrams of testosterone for a couple years. I just upped it and dropped everything else except for the MK677 to 270, right? And yet people think, so I'm at like 230 pounds ish, right? And people think that I'm taking way more drugs than I actually am.
Yeah.
So like I am like, okay, this is interesting. I see like how much I'm taking, and I see that people think I'm taking a lot more than what I'm actually taking, because I maintain my cardio. I do that every day. I maintain my sleep. I maintain my healthy diet year round, and I do all the pieces of it, and it like pays off. But like I'm not saying that I look like Liver King by any stretch of the imagination, but it is interesting, and I'm like, that dude's a lot older than me. Is that like in the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever it is, do I continue to progress in that direction with only a tiny little dose? And like, I'm not saying 270 is a tiny little dose. Maybe 100 milligrams a week is a tiny little dose, but like in comparison to, we're talking about bodybuilders, like where 500 is a minimum dose on those things. And I don't know. I don't know. I would be,
dude.
You would think somebody like
just
go ahead.
I was gonna say, me and Sam were talking about earlier about chopping up clips like this, and putting on different social media. So I've got one for you. I think this is gonna be a clip. What if Mike O'Hearn he lays in bed at night and he's like, these motherfuckers, I am honestly 100% natty. I just have fantastic genetics, and everyone thinks I'm fucking lying. I'm so mad about this. I'm so sick of it. No one believes me. But I've seen him in interviews, and he's like, oh, yeah, my test levels are like 600. Testosterone's not even that important. So Mike O'Hearn, sorry, but I think he's a fucking idiot. He's got a great physique. He's got a great physique. Don't get me wrong. He's good at what he does. But when you say that testosterone is not important in the context of bodybuilding and physique, get the fuck out of here.
But isn't he also like 50-something years old?
Yeah. I think he's 50 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, Simeon Panda, the guy he freaking looks amazing. I mean, the guy, he has massive genetic for chest. He has a massive chest. but you're not going to tell me that you're natural like that. It's impossible.
You know what, I'm curious, because like I want to see what these people look like in comparison to me.
Because you're tall.
I'm relatively tall. Like, I'm sure there's people plenty of fuckloads taller than I am. Right? I'm 6'2"-ish, a little bit under 6'2". And I'm around 230 pounds. And I'm not like super lean, but I'm on the leaner side relative to 97% of the population. And so I'm curious to see what these people look like relative to me in terms of size, in terms of leanness.
Like, it's like in the same mirror, in the same lighting, you know, at the same time.
You can do an Instagram photo, right? Like I post Instagram photos, links up above, or link down below, and my Instagram's above. And I know that, like, you know, after I finish an amazing set, after my 10th set in the gym, and I have a stupid pump in my arms, that like that's an ideal time to take a photo and post it because I look jacked as fuck. Right. So I'm curious because like I went to the gym, you know, I don't know what time it is. It's 7 o'clock. Right. So I went to the gym, you know, this morning at 8 a.m. So 12 hours ago, nearly, right. 11 hours ago. And to me, I feel like I look normal. Like, I feel like I wouldn't stand. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the demented nature of like how body dysmorphia works, but I feel like I look normal around other people. Maybe not like the 1970s mustache or the shaved head, but like from a physique size standpoint, I feel like I don't look substantially larger than a lot of folks. So I wonder if that's how they actually come off in real life, not in the Instagram photos. You know what I mean?
It may be. I don't know. Well, I've seen someone who is big in person. I've seen a few people that are big in person. And I'll tell you, one person that did surprise me was Tony Huge. I met Tony Huge at the Olympia that was in Orlando. And just based on seeing him on Instagram and stuff, and I know that I'm like 6 foot. I know I'm like 215, 220. I mean, I'm not ripped or anything like that, but I'm a bigger human. I assumed that when I saw Tony, we'd be roughly about the same size. And I figured my arms would be about the same size, but he would be more cut. And maybe I'll post it if I edit this video, but I have a picture with him and his arms are bigger than me and more cut than mine. And I was not expecting that.
Interesting.
I think he's a lot bigger in person than it comes off on Instagram.
Well, why do you think that is? Because I've had several people tell me that. Like, and in my mind, I just described like the ideal scenario to take a picture and post it on like Instagram. But yet, what you just said, I've had several different people tell me, you're like, who see me on Instagram, see me on YouTube, and they're like, dude, you look way bigger in person than you do on your Instagram. And I don't understand that. So like, I haven't had that experience in real life yet. So do you know how
I don't know what it is. I mean, there's also a reference, like right now, like people are watching us right now. They wouldn't know that if we stood next to each other, you'd be 2 inches taller than me. So you don't have a reference. And then when Dave was on our show, I don't remember exactly how tall Dave was, like 5'8", 5'9". So on the screen, and also, I mean, if you just see a video of me, you have no reference. And I think it's like, I saw Craig Golias, and I talked to Craig Golias, and I know he's a massive human. And he was wearing a big sweatshirt, a big puffy sweatshirt. And so I never got to see how big he was in person. So it was kind of weird. And then I saw the guy who, his name is the Golem. I can't remember his name. It's like Ilya something. He's from Romania. Dude, he's the biggest human I've ever seen, but he's roughly the same size as Craig Golias, but it's just a different point of reference.
So with Craig Golias or that other guy, did you have that same sense? Like, the perception is that they're this size, but then in reality, they're a lot bigger?
It was hard with Craig Golias. He was kind of like leaned back on like on a counter, and I was talking to him. Maybe it's just because he's that much taller than me. He had to like come down to my level. So he was kind of like back, kind of like this. And I could tell that he's big, but he wasn't. If he had been in like a tight tank top or something and standing next to me, it would have been a lot more noticeable. But that other guy, Ilya, because he was standing there and I walked up next to him and dude, guy's big as fuck. And he was just ripped everywhere, bro. I'm talking like, pec fucking veins, shoulder veins, just standing there, not even flexing. He was the biggest human that I've seen. It was impressive. And I know Craig Golias is roughly the same size as him. It was just a different, environment.
So was it that other guy bigger than the perception that you had from the videos and the pictures that you've seen of him online?
I had never seen him online before. I had no idea who it was. Me and my wife were walking through there. And we walk up to the 5% booth, and I look at this guy, and I'm like, "Holy shit! I'll try to you throw out on a story. I'm going to try to find a picture of this guy."
Oh, okay. I'm curious because I spend a lot of time by myself in my office doing work, right? And I don't spend necessarily a lot of time with humans in like the physical world, other than like maybe chatting with you here or chatting with people online. But it's always like a video or like a Zoom call or something like that, and you don't have that context to see these things. So I'm always curious to see how other people's reactions are, especially like when I've had that, literally what you said, people say that to me multiple times, like, "Oh, you look bigger than your fucking pictures are on Instagram." And yet you're like, how is that possible that I look bigger than my Instagram photos when I'm taking the Instagram photo at the peak time, right? Like if I'm taking an Instagram photo just after I finished 6 sets of fucking arms or chest or legs or whatever, then my legs are clearly going to have more blood flow in them and look bigger now in the Instagram photo than they are in real life. So in my mind, I'm like, how is that possible? Does that make sense? Like, how am I looking bigger in real life when I'm taking this photo, this video? That you know what I mean? Like, how does that work? I don't understand that.
I don't know. It's all about perception, man. Let me see. How can I share my screen real quick?
So
I'm not very good. Share screen.
If anybody's listening, I'll describe what TYL is about to share.
Can you see that or no?
Oh, no, not yet. In the bottom middle, there we go. It's coming up here.
Do you see it?
Oh man, that looks like a gay porn movie right there on the left.
So on the right there is Craig Golias, and then the other guy's his name's Ilya Golem. So go look him up. But I mean, bro, look at these guys. Freaking look at this guy's biceps. It's crazy. And that guy's like 6'3".
Yeah. Oh wow, so he's a tall dude as well?
Bro, I don't have the picture here, but if I can find it, I need to stop sharing. I don't know. Maybe I'll post it somewhere. I'll send it to Sam and I'll put it on my Instagram. You guys can check out that picture on my Instagram. But yeah, that guy's a monster. My wife walked up to me and she's like, "You're the biggest human I've ever seen in my entire life." And he is. He's a monster.
Hey, would you ever, before we wrap things up, would you ever do a show?
No. I mean, I do it for fun just to get up there, but I wouldn't diet like that. I don't care that much.
Would you do a show if we did it on the podcast and we talked about it on the podcast?
Like you want me to get up in like a bikini and like oil
myself down? Like men's physique or something.
Men's physique? Okay, yeah. So is that like boxers?
Yeah. No, it's like board shorts. It's like bathing suit. You would just wear a bathing suit, comes down to your knees. It's like it doesn't have to be tight or anything like that.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I can flex. I mean, I'm not that big, but I have decent sized arms. I have decent sized shoulders and traps. But I'm not cut. I don't care. I'm like 6 foot 213 right about now.
Would you cut if you decided to do a show?
My wife will still have sex with me and I can eat pizza? Nah. If I was 25, 30 and single, I would probably do it. But at this point, I could give two shits less. I mean, I'm going to slowly. I'm on a 5-year slow cut plan. I started at 247. I'm down to 213. I'd probably stop at about 205, 200.
Yeah, that's funny.
Pizza and pussy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Yeah, correct. Well, this is actually probably a perfect time to wrap things up. If you guys enjoy the show, leave us a review, take a screenshot, post it on Instagram, tag us and sam.stolt or test your levels. So it's at test your levels or at sam.stolt on Instagram. When you do your review and you tag us on Instagram and post it into your stories, we'll do something special for you. Don't know what it is yet, but we will definitely do something special for you. Maybe it's just jump on a call and chat, say what's good, see if there's any way we can help or answer questions or connect you with somebody that like we know. So leave us a review. It's the main way that we're growing. So we do appreciate it. And thank you. Any last words before we wrap things up? TYL?
No, I mean, just the only thing I really care about you following me on is my YouTube channel, Testosterone and Men's Health. That's it. I don't really like Instagram, to be honest.
Testosterone and Men's Health. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can check down below. Or do we have like I should probably ask this when we're not recording, but do we have on like Spotify when somebody click like the notes for the show and like see the YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, we've got all our links and all that shit in there. It's just like a description on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So if you guys are watching, wherever you're watching, you should be able to check the show notes or the YouTube description for all the links for everything, including our Instagram. Or what is it? Men's Health and Testosterone?
Something like that. Testosterone and Men's Health.
Testosterone and Men's Health. Cool. Peace, guys.